My husband died 3.5 years ago. I always thought we had such a good marriage. We rarely argued, always supported each other. We both worked and raised 4 kids together. In 2012, I started a master's program, so I was away from home a few evenings a week. Our kids were all grown and had moved away from home. My husband was so supportive. When I had tons of homework on the weekends, he would leave the house for the whole day, so I could work undisturbed. Now I know why he never resented leaving me to go visit friends. He wasn't visiting friends. He was spending time with his girlfriend. I never had a clue. This is how I found out. Today, I finally cleaned out his nightstand. I have cleaned everything else in the last 3.5 years. His dresser, closet, tool shed, all his stuff from the garage. But today I started emptying his nightstand. I found so much stuff. Cards and notes from her, a very expensive men's watch, and a gold chain necklace I didn't buy him and never saw him wear either. The notes were all signed Fred with a heart around it. I pulled out his phone, which I had saved. I charged it and opened it. I searched through all the messages for women's names. I checked all the messages. All good. Then I noticed a Fred in his contacts. Fred was actually a Frida, about 40. All the pictures she sent him showed her as quite fit and pretty. Everything was dated starting in 2012 while I was at school. Some of the pictures were in my home. He had her here while I was at school getting a degree. Many of the pictures were at her home with her kids. Then there was the ultrasound, and her asking him when he was going to tell me. When was he getting divorced? She wanted this child to have its real father. He kept telling her soon that he loved her but didn't want to hurt me. I couldn't stop reading. I felt like my heart was being ripped out of my chest. The last 9 years of my married life were a lie. The last messages, ultrasound demands, were late 2018. He told her he couldn't leave me because I had cancer. He needed to concentrate on me and make what we thought were my last months good. They agreed to go no contact for a while. He was the best husband during that time. Coming home early to help and cook dinner. Going to every appointment, staying with me in the hospital, supporting me, and being my rock. I had a great surgeon and medical team, and the cancerous tumors were removed. In April 2019, he got a text from her with a baby picture. It said, "I have a son. You have an ugly, fat, sick wife. Enjoy your life. I'm back with my ex." There was no response from him to her, and no other exchanges. I have been crying off and on all day. My daughter lives with me and keeps asking what is wrong. I told her it was really hard cleaning out her dad's nightstand. Should I leave it at that or destroy the image she has of her dad with what I found? My 4 kids have a little brother out there. Should I tell them or leave it be and play ignorant? If he ever tries to contact us. I thought I had moved on. I recently started dating and have felt in a good place. But now this. I just don't know how to handle this devastating situation. Update. I called her number last night. It is no longer in service. This morning, I called the company where my late husband worked. I talked with the office manager, the woman who had guided me through the hoops for getting insurance, and the last check after my husband passed. She said the woman does still work there. Then, shaking, I asked her if she had a 4 to 5-year-old son. She hesitated, then said yes. I asked if she knew about that woman and my husband, and she did. Everyone knew. Then, through my tears, I asked if she was claiming that child as my husband's. The manager said at first she did, but after the baby was born and was obviously part African American, my husband was not. That she admitted she lied and was going to tell me about the years-long affair if he didn't pay her money. He knew it wasn't his, but paid her, so our family wasn't torn up. The manager said at the funeral, she did not come with her or the other 2 to 3 people that came. She came on her own, and they made her leave. I don't remember seeing her except in a couple of pictures after, and she signed the book. They realized at the funeral my family didn't know anything when my kids welcomed her, and chose to keep quiet. She did try to apologize. I just said, "Thank you," and hung up. Now I know he chose me. I will see a therapist to help with my newly formed grief and anger and pain, but my kids, all in their id-30 SS male to early 40s, can be spared the pain of knowing what their father did. They will just keep believing he was a devoted father and husband, human like everyone else. I'm going to let it go. Thank you for being my sounding board. Now, for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. Hugs OP. I know that's a big shock and you deserve to take your time processing what you've just learned. That sucks. I'm so sorry. Food for thought from a practical standpoint. 1. 5-year-old could eventually seek a DNA test, and you might be asked by your children, did you know? 2. 1 or more of your children might already know, whether by accident or the girlfriend reaching out or just bad luck. So it could be helpful to relieve them of the burden. I understand your reservations. It's not fair that you're in this position. Best wishes. Comment 2. I agree with other commenters that talking to a therapist first is the way to go. However, don't hide this from your adult children. You are the victim. You shouldn't have to carry that burden alone. They are a big part of your support system. What your late husband did was reprehensible. He is the one who should take the blame. You are not alone. Now, for the update. Thanks for sticking around. Here's what's been happening. After the call with the office manager, I thought I could close this chapter and move on. But life had other plans. My daughter, the one living with me, found one of the notes from Frida while she was helping me clean. It fell out of a book I had shoved into a shelf, a note I missed. She read it before I could snatch it away. The look on her face said it all. She demanded answers, and I couldn't lie to her. I told her everything, every painful detail. She was furious, not just at her father, but at me for considering keeping it from her and her siblings. She said they deserved to know the truth about who their father was. So we called a family meeting. I've never seen a room so cold, so silent. When I finished telling them, it was like watching dominoes fall, their faces crumpling one after another. They were heartbroken, angry, confused. And then the questions started. Ones I couldn't answer. Why did he do it? How could he lie to us? Do we have a brother out there? The aftermath was a mess. My kids were split. Some wanted to find this child, others wanted to just forget and move on. But the decision was taken out of our hands. A few days later, there was a knock on the door. A woman stood there holding the hand of a little boy. She introduced herself as Frida's sister. Frida had passed away unexpectedly, and she was looking for my husband, not knowing he was gone too. The boy, he had my husband's eyes. It was undeniable. Frida's sister explained that Frida had lied about the child's paternity out of spite and anger, but the boy was indeed my husband's son. She had no one else to take care of him, and she was hoping we could be a part of his life. My kids were torn apart all over again, but they looked at this innocent child, a part of their father, and they couldn't turn him away. We agreed to help, to be a part of his life. It was the right thing to do, but it wasn't easy. Emotions were raw and the betrayal felt fresh. Then, just when we thought we could start healing, another bombshell dropped. Frida's sister confessed that before she died, Frida had been planning to sue my husband's estate for child support, backdated to his birth. She had documentation, messages from my husband, acknowledging the child. The threat of a legal battle loomed over us, threatening to tear open wounds we were just starting to mend. I couldn't let that happen. I took action. I met with a lawyer, explained the situation, and we decided to settle. It would drain the savings I had, but it would protect my family from more pain. We set up a trust for the boy, ensuring he would be taken care of without dragging us through the courts. It was a hard pill to swallow, but it was necessary. My kids, they were struggling, but they were also coming together in a way I hadn't seen before. They were supporting each other and me through this whole ordeal. We were finding a new normal, a new way to be a family. And me? I was learning to forgive, not for him, but for myself and for this little boy who needed us. I was also learning to let go of the past and the image of the man I thought I knew. It was time to focus on the future, on healing and moving forward. Thank you for reading. Aita for yelling at my mom after learning she's pregnant again with our 11th sibling. My parents got married at a very young age, and my mom had me when she was 22 years old. Since then, my parents have had 9 other children. My youngest sibling is about 1.5 years old. It's exhausting. It feels like every few years, my parents have another child. I was hoping that this would be the last child, as my parents often mentioned how many children they have. Plus, my mom is getting too old to have children now. But then I was cleaning out the rubbish bins in the bathrooms, and I found a pregnancy test in my parents' one. I nearly lost my mind when I saw it was positive. When I asked my mom about it, she told me how exciting it was and how I could have another little sibling. It was very immature, but I yelled at her to use a damn condom, then stormed off. When my dad got home, he got mad at me, grabbed me, yelled at me, and said I was being really unfair to my mom and that I should be happy for her. But they have no idea what it's like feeling responsible for so many children. My dad's at work all day, and my mom has to put most of the attention on the little children. But the older ones always come to me instead, and it's tiring. I literally had to show one of my little sisters how to use a tampon because my mom was putting the little children to bed and told her to figure it out herself. They wake me up in the middle of the night to comfort them when they have nightmares and are crying. I have to do their hair every morning, help them with their homework. I've even had to teach my sisters how to shave, and it's just too much. And after my mom gives birth, I'm always the one having to look after her when she can barely walk. It doesn't help that where I live, it's unusual to have more than 3 children and very rare to have more than 5, so it makes me really embarrassed. I've been with my boyfriend for almost a year. He knows how I feel about everything because I'll talk to him about it sometimes. He knows that I'm tired of constantly looking after my siblings, and it's all too much sometimes. I called him and was crying about my parents and how they were having another stupid baby. He was really kind to me about it. And then, a couple of days later, he said that he had told his mother about it, and if I wanted to, she said that I could live with them. I know it's a really generous offer, but I'm hesitant. His mother is absolutely lovely, and I like his father as well, but I almost feel like it's too generous. I feel like having another person in the house would cost a lot of money, and I don't want to be a burden on them. I still have another year of school left because where I live, we finish high school later. I have really mixed feelings about it. And in some ways, it sounds amazing, finally being away from my family for a bit. But at the same time, I think I'd feel really guilty about it. This is my first relationship, so I will admit I'm not very sure what I'm doing. Any advice would be appreciated because I'm a bit confused and can't exactly talk to my parents about it. Now, for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. I think you should do it, but you also need to talk to your boyfriend and his family about logistics before moving in. Would you have your own room or be expected to share his? What about bathrooms? Do you need to work and contribute financially for food or anything? What happens if you guys break up? How will transportation be handled? Do you or your boyfriend have a car? Will his parents have to drive you places? What will your chore responsibilities be? How will it be handled if someone from your family shows up and tries to drag you back? I know at 18 you legally don't have to, but guilt can be a hell of a thing. Comment 2. If it took him a few days to make the offer, then it means it's been actually thought about and discussed rather than a spur-of-the-moment thing. I imagine that with you being 18, the extra cost to his family of you staying with them isn't as much as you imagine. Really, it's a food cost and perhaps a small bump in utilities. You could always trial it for a couple of weeks first. You'll get time to find a part-time job or concentrate on studies. You'll be amazed at how better it'll feel for you. Even just uninterrupted sleep will feel amazing. Please seriously consider it for your own health. Now, for the update. Thanks for sticking around. A lot has happened since I last wrote. So, I thought things couldn't get more intense, but they did. My boyfriend's mom, who offered me a place to stay, suddenly got sick. Like, really sick. Hospital visits, the whole 9 yards. My boyfriend was a wreck, and I felt like I was stuck in a tough situation. I wanted to be there for him, but I also couldn't just abandon my family circus. Then, out of nowhere, my oldest sister, who's been out of the house for a while, came back. She had this whole sob story about her boyfriend cheating on her and how she had nowhere else to go. My parents, being who they are, took her in without a second thought. Our house was already bursting at the seams, and now with her back, it was chaos. One night, things boiled over. My sister and I got into it. She accused me of not pulling my weight around the house, which is a joke, right? I snapped. I told her she was the one who left us to deal with everything. It got ugly, and my dad had to break us up. He yelled at me, said I was being selfish and causing more problems. I couldn't believe it. After everything I've done for this family, that's what I get? I was so mad I packed a bag and went to my boyfriend's place. His mom was out of the hospital by then, but she was still weak. I felt like an intruder, but They insisted I stay. It was weird being in a house that wasn't in constant disarray. I could actually hear myself think, but guilt gnawed at me every day. I was torn between this new sense of freedom and the weight of my responsibilities back home. Then the surprise dropped. My sister, the one who just returned, she was pregnant. And guess who the father was? My boyfriend's brother. I couldn't make this stuff up if I tried. It was like my two worlds collided and exploded. My boyfriend was furious with his brother, and I was just numb. I didn't know how to feel about my sister anymore. She'd always been the hectic one, but this was another level. My parents were surprisingly calm about it. They said they'd support her, like they always do with all of us. But I could see the strain on their faces. Another mouth to feed, another life to be responsible for. And there I was, feeling like I was watching it all from the outside. I couldn't stay away, though. I went back home. I had to face my sister, my parents, the whole messy situation. My sister and I, we had a long talk. She cried, said she was sorry for everything. I wanted to stay mad at her, I really did. But looking at her, so vulnerable, I just couldn't. I forgave her. Maybe it made me look weak. Maybe I was desperate for some semblance of peace in our family. But I did it. My boyfriend and I were still together. It's complicated with his brother being the father of my niece or nephew, but we're trying to work through it. His parents have been supportive, and I'm grateful for that. I'm back to my old routine, helping out with my siblings, dealing with the night terrors and the homework and the endless questions. I guess in the end, I realized that no matter how crazy my family is, they're mine. And I'm theirs. We're a package deal, for better or worse. Thanks for reading. Aita for filing for divorce. From my husband who sued me for custody. Using my mental health against me. We separated 2 years ago. My son and I moved back to my home state and with my parents. We were constantly fighting before I left, and it got really bad, so he told me he wanted a divorce. I was very hurt emotionally when I left and had a lot of mental health issues because of everything he put me through. I accept that I am also at fault for our problems. As I was healing, he reached out to me and wanted to get back together. At first I refused, but I eventually gave him a chance. During this time, he found out that I reported him for not providing financial support. He is military and obligated to provide for his family since we were still married. So, he was forced to send me a set amount each month. He was soon to be deployed, and I wanted to make sure he helped me with our son before he left. He was hurt, so I eventually filed for divorce and sent him the paperwork for him to sign while he was deployed. He was the one in a hurry to divorce. I told him I would wait till he returned. He never signed it, and we began talking again and healing together. The case was dropped due to no progression. He returned a year ago, and we have still been separated. He is selling the house and moving back here, closer to my son and I next month. We have grown so much and have gotten to a really good place, but we still have occasional fights. I have trust issues and become paranoid about many things. So this also causes fights. Because of this, he suggests that we divorce, but stay together and keep trying. He says marriage is only a legal obligation, and it shouldn't matter. He prefers to do it before it gets any worse between us. He wants to protect himself financially because he doesn't want me going after any new house he buys. He also wants to make sure he gets time with our son and that it is legally written down. I was originally fighting for full physical custody and possible supervised visitation because he was an alcoholic and never watched him. I have seen him get better and agree that he has every right to have his time with our son. I also understand a boy needs his father. He claims this is for me because it will show me that he truly loves me and cares for me. That this will help me see that he'll always be here for me, even though there's no legal obligation, like giving me more assurance. Thinks it might be better for us and we could also live our lives separately, but still be together. I don't agree with this and told him, if we divorce, he's going to lose me because I will not keep trying. He says he'll keep trying anyways. I'll always care for him, but I'd prefer to co-parent and move on, be single instead. I see this only causing more issues for me and can't help but think he's just been manipulating me into getting a better outcome in divorce. Anyone agree with him and could give me more perspective on this? I feel like I deserve better. He still calls me like nothing's changed and tells me he misses me. and checks on me, which is very confusing for me. Update. I have decided to file for divorce and move on with my life. I appreciate all the advice. It has really helped me to open my eyes again, and it feels very liberating to finally let it go. Also, I believe he has cheated on me emotionally with another female soldier. He also would go out with an old female friend, but he has denied ever cheating on me, of course. He also admitted to getting into a relationship while we were separated, but said it was just to fill a void. I know I have tolerated way more than I should have. The only reason I gave him another chance was for our son to have both parents, and I didn't want to live with any regrets. Now, for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. He only came back because you reported him for not providing. He wants the divorce, so he isn't responsible for you, only child support. He wants to buy a home after the divorce, so you have no right to it. You need a good divorce lawyer. There is no reason to stay together after the divorce. This man is financially hurtful. Comment 2. Nope. Get a lawyer to protect you from this kind of fuckery. And yes, codifying child support is in your and your son's interest. And I'd need 6 kinds of proof of sobriety before I'd agree to unsupervised custody. I don't trust this man as far as I can throw him. And that's based on your description. Now, for the update, thanks for sticking around to hear more about this mess. So, I went ahead and filed for divorce. It was tough, but it had to be done. I thought that was the end of it, but boy, was I wrong. The day after I filed, he showed up at my parents' place, all teary-eyed, begging for another chance. Said he realized he couldn't live without me and our son. I didn't buy it, but my parents, they've always had a soft spot for him. They actually suggested I hear him out. Can you believe that? Against my better judgment, I did. He spun the story about how he's been seeing a therapist, working on his issues, and how he's been sober for months now. He even brought along some of his AA buddies as character witnesses. I was skeptical, but there was a part of me that wanted to believe him, for our son's sake. Then, out of nowhere, he drops the news. He's been diagnosed with a serious health condition. Says it's made him reevaluate everything. He wants to make things right with me before it's too late. I was floored. My heart went out to him, and I started to think maybe this was a sign we should try again. But here's the kicker. A week later, I get a call from his lawyer. Turns out, he's suing me for full custody of our son, claiming I'm an unfit mother because of my mental health history. He twisted everything, used my past struggles against me. I was blindsided. I couldn't believe he'd stoop so low. I fought back, of course. Hired a lawyer, gathered evidence, got character statements from friends and family. It was ugly, dragged out for days. In the end, the judge ruled in my favor, but granted him visitation rights. I was relieved, but the whole ordeal left me drained. Just when I thought I could breathe again, another curveball. He's moving back all right, but not alone. He's bringing his new girlfriend with him, the same female soldier he claimed was just a friend. Turns out they're expecting a baby. My world came crashing down. All his talk about wanting to make things right was just a ploy to get closer to his new family. I felt like a fool. I had let my guard down, started to trust him again, and now this. It's like he's living a double life, and I was just a backup plan. I should have known better. The signs were all there, but I chose to ignore them, hoping for a fairy tale ending that was never going to happen. Now I'm just trying to pick up the pieces. I've got to be strong for my son, show him that we can get through this. It's not going to be easy, but I've learned my lesson. No more second chances. No more benefit of the doubt. It's time to move on. For real this time. Thanks for listening to my venting. It's been one heck of a ride. If you like this video, you'll probably like these too. Also, while you're here, please consider subscribing. It's your support that keeps this channel alive and allows me to make better and longer videos. Have a great day.